YouTube wasn't playing ball with the original one set up. So this is Borehamwood, where they made the 3 On the Buses films. So you'll catch this eventually anyway if you're on the wrong part. It just wouldn't let me play ball with the original one that I'd actually set up. But this is the first location we'll look at today. It's in Borehamwood. Now, if you think back to the Mutiny on the Buses film, and this is where the gas works were. So the clues here, the only parts that really remain that are clues, are this telegraph pole in front of me here and the other one further down the road. If you look right ahead, you'll see lots of flats built along the side here. Where the furthest away flat is, right in the distance, that is where the gas cylinders were for the gasworks. So the police car would have been parked right up here, and they get contacted by mistake, obviously, and the car would have just sped away from here. Now, if we cross over, we'll turn around now, that's Elstree and Borehamwood's train station there. Now, many years ago, there used to be 5 film studios in Borehamwood. One of them stood roughly where Penta Court is, just over there. And that was called the Gate Studios. Now, back in the day, the train line always used to be there as well. Back in the day, they used to have somebody perched on top of the roof there with a flagging system. So whenever they spotted a train coming, they would flag and they would get them to stop filming, because obviously the noise of the trains was so loud it would affect the filming. So that was a system that they had. So that was Gate Studios stood here. What is now the BBC Studios, that was there. You had the Borehamwood, the Elstree Studios, film studios. You had the British MGM, which is no longer there anymore. And so that was your 4 studios that they had here at one time. We're now down to 2, but very soon it will be going up to 3, because they're building a massive new studio complex out in at the east end of Borehamwood. It's going to be a Sky Studios with NBC Universal making stuff there as well. If I don't answer any of your questions, it's because I'll be quite busy here, but I will endeavour to do it later on when I get back to my hotel room. I'm fine, thanks. Whoever's asking how I am, a bit hot. So I'm going to have to try and take it steady, because I can't be drinking water, obviously, when I'm holding this, my mobile up like this. Now, this is put up by the Elstree Film Heritage. It's a little, lets you know as soon as you come into the train station what the town is all about, basically. So you've got all of that. That's very nice. Also down the station you've got stars in the thing. This one is for Sir Alec Guinness. There's another one further down in that direction for Gregory Peck. They all made films here at the studios, and that's the relevance of having all that such like stuff here. Another one here is Jack Nicholson. So that's Jack Nicholson's star. So as I say, if you want to ask any questions, ask away, and I'll probably answer them at a later time. So there's Peter Sellers' star, and next one we've got, there's Gregory Peck. So that's Gregory Peck's star. Don't know if you can see that. Yeah, Gregory Peck. Bus stop, and hey presto, what would you have? Who would you have next to the bus stop? But Reg Varney. So star for Reg Varney there. This was all set up by the Elstree Film Heritage. We've also got plaques dotted around the town centre for our film and television heritage trail. These are all dotted down the main street in Borehamwood for various people that have worked at the studios and done productions at the studios. won't go and show you them all because I want to really try and concentrate on the get as many as I can filming locations for you. So we're just about to cross over into Shenley Road. This is like the main road, the high street if you will, that runs right through Borehamwood. I'll cross over the road here if I get the chance. So this is like the main street in Borehamwood with shops down either side. I'm going to cross over because there's a filming location just down here from on the buses. I may have covered some of these ones before in other videos, but it's good to look at them again, and I'll try and maybe tap on some different ones. Sorry if you were looking for screen grabs, but obviously it's not really possible to do it when you're walking live to put in screen grabs, but there are other videos on my channel anyway with such like screen grabs. It's actually better on this side of the road because I'm in shade. I do believe the temperatures are up around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 or 33 I think it was saying on my phone. I will be downloading all these videos that I've done. I think I've got about 10 that recorded from various, like around Borehamwood, at the outskirts of Borehamwood, St Albans, around Wembley and around Stonebridge and such like. It was so hot yesterday, the soles of my shoes were actually sticking to the tarmac. So carry on down here, and we're coming to the first location, second location, sorry, very soon. And you'll notice it as soon as you see it. So if you remember back to the opening credits in the first film, as soon as the opening credits starts up, as soon as the opening credits start up, you see this angle here, just where that bus is. That's very good. This what we want, a bus there. Don't want the Royal Mail van though. Just where that bus is there, that'd be where it was in the film, just coming past the big building there with the pointed roof on this side over here. That's the post office there. That's the poster, that's Dean there, Dean Sullivan, who supplies buses for on the buses events that we organise. So there you can see where the pointed roof is the old Borehamwood post office. You see that building when the bus is coming down here when the opening credits start up. So we'll carry on down here. One of these shops here used to be a cafe called Tony Macaroni. It was quite famous. I think it was Tony Macaroni, it was something like that. And it used to sit here on the high street. It's long since gone now, obviously. Yeah, the bus that I just went past, who I said hello to, the driver was Dean Sullivan, who supplies buses. His bus company supplies buses for filming. They've used them in Eastenders, The Bill, Harry Potter, James Bond films. The list goes on, so you can see the sort of person that he is, and he was always very good for supplying buses for our on the buses event locations tour as well. Really lovely bloke, and he's a wealth of knowledge as well. So we'll head on along down into heading towards the centre of Borehamwood, where Elstree Studios is. If my hand inadvertently ends up over the lens, just ignore that. It's just one of those things of having to change hands every so often, obviously, because it gets a little bit sore holding the camera up like this. But I hope you're seeing it all okay. There are one or two new buildings on this side of the road that wouldn't have been there when they filmed on the buses. Like as you can see there, this is brand new. So there are a fair few buildings here. This is new as well. Would have been built maybe about 5 years ago, something like that. Sorry for any noises you get as well, that's just notifications that will be coming through on my phone. Just ignore them though. Now, as I carry on up here, there's one of these cafes up here, or one of these hip shops up in this parade here. Used to be a cafe, I do believe, or a restaurant. It's all changed now, obviously. It might be the Robinsons when you come out the Peacock store when I come up to it, but it was a pretty big size restaurant, and I do believe you see it in one of the Monty Python films. You see Eric Idle, and he's dressed up as a waiter. He comes rushing out of the restaurant. I'm not too sure about it because I'm not really into the Monty Python films. Somebody that's watching this now will probably know which one it is. It comes rushing out of one of these shops here. Something tells me it might be Peacock's. There might be one right next to Peacock's, which is Peacock's now, there. Which is, it was a restaurant, and Eric Idle comes rushing out. I'm not too sure exactly, because as I say, I'm not a mad keen Monty Python fan. Now the All Saints church steeple over there, you see that in the film as well, in the background, when the bus is heading down in this direction. And a couple of 2 or 3 scenes. That's not changed at all. There used to be an old village hall on the other side of the church, but that's gone now. They built, it's called Venue 96 there now, which is the new library of Borehamwood, and up in the upper floor, if you get the chance, they've got a small museum, film museum, with some nice old photos of studios and them filming around the town. So I'm going to head and turn left here, the next turn here. And as soon as I turn left, you'll probably know straight away where we're heading towards. But it's not just on the buses that they filmed here. They filmed all sorts. They filmed Eastenders around here, Casualty. They've filmed older stuff like the ITC stuff like The Saint, Brandon Hopkirk Deceased, The Champions, anything like that. Right, so now we're turning into Clarendon Road. So I think you'll all know where exactly we are now. It's nice there in the shade here, so I want to stay on this side of the road if I can. And over the houses here on this side of that side of the road there, that is where the BBC Elstree studios are. Before it was BBC, incidentally, it used to be ATV, then Central Studios, because the old Eastenders set, which is right up the top here, you can make out the bridge from the old Eastenders set. It's now moved. That used to be where the building site for Alfreda St. Pet was, on that site. So we'll keep on walking. I can't really look too far. We're coming up to the entrance into the BBC studios, but obviously for certain reasons are very twitchy about anybody filming there, so I'll try not to look down there too long. I'll just turn the camera in that direction and then carry on walking. Because down the entrance, when we come up to it, you can actually see where the new set of Eastenders, so they've moved it maybe about 200 yards. Spent a heck of a lot of money on it to absolutely reproduce it so that it's identical. Apparently they done it because it would make better for HD viewing for some reason. I don't know how, I'm no expert on that side of things. So across the road there, just beyond the blue car, is the entrance into BBC Elstree Studios. So don't get confused with the studios, because this is not where they made the On the Buses films. That's a different complex altogether. This is the BBC studios here. See now, there, the house there you can see down there at the foot of the, where my camera's pointing like that, that's the rear of the set of Eastenders, whereas it used to be up in this direction, so they've moved it all the way down there. Okay, so if you remember the On the Buses film as well, the start of it again. You see the bus heading down in this direction, and I'll tell you how you know it was heading down in this direction, because okay, wait until I get here for you to have a look at. There's an old ornate plaque. There we go. I don't know if you can see that. It's Banbury Terrace right there. You see that in the film as the bus passes here. So it's just over there. The bus passes along here, and then it drops the family off right here. Now you can see they built new houses in the corner over there as well now. Well, they've been there quite a few years actually. So there is number 2 Malden Road, that's the Butler house. So the family you see getting off, they get off the bus and file into the house. And also you see it from a different angle, sort of around about here, when Stan's coming back and he's got flowers for his girlfriend. He walks along in this direction and into number 2 Malden Road. You also see this road again and at the start at Holiday on the Buses when they're loading the sidecar up, and when you see this angle here as well when they're about to take Olive to the hospital, and Mum mentions a specimen, and then Arthur pulls her face and the camera's looking in this direction. So it's just looking in this direction here, but they've had an extension built on there. Back in the day, if you look across at that house in the road behind Arthur in that particular scene, the end of the house would be where the drain pipe runs down next to the front door. So all of that extra little section there, that's all been an extension added on over the years. So it does look slightly different. Now I'm going to head back down on the side that I just walked up on, because obviously it's a little bit shade in there. I want to try and keep as much in the shade as I can. Now, anybody that's aficionados of Love Thy Neighbour, the Love Thy Neighbour film, the opening credits, I think you see them walking down the street here just before you get to the Butler house. That was filmed here as well. The start and opening credits for the Love Thy Neighbour film. Again, I'm not really a Love Thy Neighbour fan, really, so you'll just have to take my word for that. But I have seen the screen grabs and all of that, and that definitely is the case. It was up there and at Malden Road. Okay, so I hope you're all enjoying this. Some of these I've already got live location visits at, so if you do want to go and refresh your memories, and you can go and look through old videos that I've done live location visits on. I just thought it would be good to do a one massive walking tour so you can see them all in one go, as it were. Again, there you go, the Eastenders set over there behind the black fence. So that's the back of houses, and obviously in the Eastenders set. And I think there is an episode of Randall and Hopkirk when you see the car driving down this road as well. Although, having said that, it would have been a moving projection of but he obviously came down here and filmed that for the effect. It's definitely Clarendon Road that he filmed bits like that. Although, as I say, the car wouldn't have actually come down here. But there's a bit from Randall and Hopkirk that was definitely filmed here. I'll try and remember to point it out to you. But as I say, I just chiefly want to point out the on the buses filming locations. And as you might have seen by my post up on the community thing, I had a real bad turn here on my first full day here on Wednesday. Really, I don't know whether it was dehydration or heat stroke, but I felt all woozy and disorientated and unsteady on my feet. That was after I'd walked about maybe 2.5 miles through the countryside to get from Borehamwood up to location in Ridge and South Mims. Once I got back to my hotel room, had about 2-3 hours sleep. I woke up and I felt a heck of a lot better. Okay, so heading back onto the main road again, Shenley Road. I'm just going to cross the main road here. Should be testing. Actually, I think I'll stay on this side of the road because there's another location down here. The another location that I was going to cross over to show you is one that there's a video of. It's one of the Borehamwood residents, Rob Hickey, speaking about a time that he was there and he seen them filming the opening credits from on the buses film. So if you want to go in there and look at that, you'll see it again. It's just that there's only one location up there. So I don't see the merit of going all the way up there. I'll tell you what I will do though, I'll go over to the edge of the road because the Randon Hopkirk location is up that same road, Cardinal Avenue. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'll try zooming in without, don't want to mess up the video too much. Don't like fiddling with it, just like it to record. But if you look over it, there are lots of rice beyond where the white van's parked. There's a lots of rice Indian takeaways where the white van's passing now. On the wall, if you look very, very, very carefully, you can see an old CND sign. You can see an old CND sign, and that is actually, you know, it's like for nuclear disarmament or something like that. That was actually on the wall when you see it in the Randon Hopkirk episode. So that was right over there. I think the episode was they had Jeff in the back of the boot of the car in one of the back alleys down there that go behind these shops. They beat him up and leave him in the alley, and then he comes out and you see that sign on the walls there, over there. Now the other video that I'm telling you about was right up the top. It's where they filmed the opening credits, where you see Linda Regan, who is married to Brian Murphy of George and Mildred fame. You can look at that video in all its entirety back in the day. It's on my site somewhere, but you'll be able to find it. It's just his claim to fame. Rob Hickey's, he actually came down when he was a little boy. He was playing football. His mates told him they were filming in the street next door, next to his. He came down and they were filming that scene. Between takes, he went up and asked Bob for his autograph. He got a piece of paper off his waybill, signed it, but Rob's lost it, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm going to head on down, since we're going to give that location a miss. Now, if I stand around about here, this is the location again you see with the bus coming down the high street, where all these cars are heading towards us. This is at the start of Mutiny on the buses. The bus, you see the bus passing down here, and then you see the subway over there. I'll tell a lie, it's not the subway. It's the one that's too late now. It used to be a bookmaker's. It used to be a Betfred's. Now that used to be, back in the day, it used to be a jeweller's shop. And that is where you seen Stan and Susie at the start of the film going in to pay to get the engagement ring. Now, if you remember, you see the motorbike coming down here, and Mum taps Arthur on his shoulder to show him what she's seen. And the motorbike would have been coming down in this direction, right down here. Now, if you watch that scene, frame by frame, it's interesting because as the motorbike nears the back of the bus and about to crash into it, if you watch it like frame by frame, you can see Michael Robbins miraculously transform into Tex Fuller, the stuntman who would have done that stunt. Michael Robbins couldn't drive the motorbike. It was always towed everywhere by just with rope on it. So if you see the close-ups of the motorbike, you see his face on the motorbike. It is him, but he's in no control of the motorbike. It's just being towed. Now, when you see Olive all dishevelled after it's crashed into the back of the bus, if you see the lots of rice and the home needs and the Isabels and the handy shops across there, they've all got like white pillars in between them there. Now, years and years ago, that used to be one big shop at Tesco's. And you see that in the background when Olive's all dishevelled, you can make out the Tesco's in the background. So it'd be handies, Isabel's, home needs, lots of rice were all made up one shop, which was our Tesco. So that was all filmed right here. So just going to head down now. To our next location. Why, I'll try and traffic dodge. I hope you're all enjoying this, by the way. Now you also see later on in the opening credits of the first film, as it still continues, the opening credits continue to run, the bus heading down this stretch here. Obviously this central reservation wasn't there in those days. It was 2-lane traffic on both sides. Central reservation obviously has narrowed the road up a heck of a lot. It's handy for me getting a like for like for the location shots though, but not for traffic and driving. Obviously it must be a nightmare here now. So, going to head down to the next location now. Now again, if you remember back to the opening credits, as they are sort of like coming towards an end in the first film, you see Stan's bus pull out of the main street there, and that's the view that you see the shopping parade in the background. But it would have been, the camera would have been perched further down because you get more of a angle. You had more of a long distance view of it, if you see what I mean. So it would be up around about where this Elstree Inn sign is, I would say, where they probably filmed it from. You'll get a better perspective, I would say, from around about here. That looks a lot better now. So that is where they were filming it from. So we're going to head on up. This is White House Avenue. You'll probably, some of you that are well versed on these locations, you'll probably have a good idea where this is. Now this is a bit of a myth on this one as well, because people always tend to think that they actually filmed inside the house of Turnaround Betty's, but they didn't. We know that for a fact because if you watch that scene again when they're up in the bedroom, and Jack goes to look out the room. The houses that are across the road from supposedly what you can see out of the window is totally different from the ones that are actually here. So that would have been a studio set. All they did would have got the cameras into that room to film would have been the view out of onto the street when Jack sees the cameras filming. Obviously the other bus pulling up behind stands, but they wouldn't have done any filming up there. Those rooms are not big enough to take the cast, the equipment, the electrical outlets that you'd need to do all of that as well. Wouldn't have been able to cope with the electrical outlets within 1970s houses. So turn around Betty's, just around over there. Now it has undergone a lot of changes over the last 5 years, I would say. You can still see in the down the side there the little the garden shed still there, and the washing line pole. If I can zoom in for you, you'll make that out there. But no, before anybody asks, no pants on the line, okay? So Stan's bus would have been parked around about here, and this would have been a totally fake bus stop, just a prop for the park. You see Jack's machine that he punches his card with. So if you keep if you look there, that's where his card is, where he punches his waybill and such like, and that would mean just right in front of us here. Now where the bus, where the telephone box that the bus reverses into, again, that wasn't Reg Varney driving that. That would have been our stunt driver, professional driver for that. The telephone box would have been roughly around about here, just where this water vent is. You know that because you can see number 24 in the background. So we see turning around Betty's husband coming down in a van, and he pulls down in front of the bus just across the road here. The only scene that you do see from turning around Betty's, and all the configurations, by the way, just to exemplify why they never filmed up in the bedroom, is the window configurations all totally all wrong as well. So if you have a look here, this is about the view that you get from the camera that we're doing filming from the window. And you do see it as definitely they filmed from the window, but that's the only time that the camera would have went up into the house to film. Simple reason is behind that why they didn't was because the amount of money that it cost to spend to film in there, when they ran the risk of being interrupted by maybe a utility man knocking at the door, any visitors at the door, whereas on a studio set they could do it at their leisure with no danger of any noise outside as well, like kids playing in the street or things like that, and it was perfect. And no fees to pay as well to house owners, which is how the Hammer wanted it, obviously, because they were all made on budget, these films, on a tight budget, I should say. Okay, so we'll head back down onto the main road here, Shenley Road. A little on another sort of like a on the buses location for you. I'm sure there must be people that were fans of Rise and Damp. Well, if you remember the Rise and Damp film, you see Rigsby drives up in his white Triumph Stag and he parks outside the newsagent. I'll show you exactly where that newsagent is, and we know it's there because you can see the old frontage of the studios over in the background. It is still a newsagent, would you believe? So I'll show you exactly where that was. But he wouldn't have been able to do what he done in the film because he drove in sort of like from a easterly direction. You can't do that now because the road's all blocked off and there's a curb there. There's another one here, plaques. They've got them all the way down the high street there. That's one for Alistair Sim and Dame Margaret Rutherford. This one at one time used to be the Grosvenor Hotel here, Hartlepool, many years ago. Right, so if you look across the road there and you can see a food and wine shop, I'll try and zoom in for you. That is the actual shop that Rigsby goes in to get his dirty magazines. Right on the corner there. Just where that man's just walked past it. So that was where he got his dirty magazines from. Right, so there's another on the bus's location here. Now, if we're looking at the side of that used to be the Grosvenor Hotel, the white-sided building that you see through the trees there. Now, all of this here used to be part of the old studio complex. It's long since been downsized. So this used to be studio block buildings here, all the way along here. There was a building here that doubled as the maternity hospital. If you remember, when the bus stops, it stops around about here. And you know it's here because there's still telephone boxes there, but just a more modern type. Back in the film, if you watch it again, it's all older telephone boxes, the red, traditional red telephone boxes. So the hospital would have been over through the trees there, that is all now land of the Tesco's, which I'll take you into in a minute. So the bus parks up here, and if you look closely, you can see that building in the background through the window of Stan's cab. So that the bus would have been parked roughly around about here. Now there's another scene as well, obviously earlier in the film, when the bus stops and Stan gets Olive gets off and they point her in the direction of the family planning clinic. So just show you where that was. Ignore this road that goes into the Tesco's. That would not have been there back in that day. That would have been still all part of the studio complex there. All the way along here. So you've got to use your imagination here. So where the wall is roughly around about, or just a little bit beyond the wall, is where the family planning clinic sign would have been. So Olive would have walked up in this direction here. Obviously this roundabout and all that wouldn't have been here. It would have just been a straight road. The pavement would have carried on straight up here in this direction. We know that it's here because Arthur, Stan and Jack make a joke about one way's trust the government, one way's illegal, the other way's impossible. You see the McDonald's in the background after the bus pulls away. It was the Red Lion pub back in the day, but it's been converted into a McDonald's. I think that happened sometime in the 1990s or such like. So I'm going to walk on in, because all of this here, which is the Tesco car park and the Tesco building itself, all used to be part of the Elstree Studios. What remains of Elstree Studios, you can see the sound stages over there. But this here used to all be part of Elstree Studios here. Now if you remember back to the Holiday on the Buses film, at the very start when you see Stan and Jack queuing at what you think is the employment centre, would have been roughly around about here. They were just admin block right along the front of the studios. You know it's here because of matching up the road that goes down there that was still there in those days. Obviously things like the road and the old Red Lion, now the McDonald's buildings, are all still there, so you can match up exactly the buildings that are still here with how the studios did look. and the block that Stan and Jack are queuing at would have been around about here, just here. So if you remember as well, you had a big white building that the bus pulls outside. It pulls up outside the which you believe is the hospital, when he says, quick, get I'll get them to prepare the delivery room, and Arthur says, no, I'll get a hammer and chisel, and she's in the sidecar. That would have been right here, just like where the parking sign is, hand wash. That would have been, there was two big blocks here. One was, the first one here was 1 and 2, stage 1 and 2, and then beyond that there was stage 3 and 4, and then beyond that again was the sound stage 5, which doubled as a bus depot. So I'll take you up there and show you where that all is. So if you remember, there was a white building there. It was actually part of the studios that doubled as the hospital. So just cross over here, and I'll take you up to roughly like whereabouts the sound stage 5 was. So there is what is left of the studios there in the distance there over there. That's all the Elstree studios there. So it's still a big size, but obviously not as vast as what it was, because it used to span all the way over here. But you can see they've started expanding on the land that they have got. If you have a look right up there, there's a new sound stages too. I think it is new sound stages over there that's been built in the last 12 months. Now that's that one that's like red and orange, sorry, and grey and light grey, sort of like colour scheme. But if you look in front of that, to that, the one here with the windows, a row of windows at the top, a single row of windows, just let's see, can you see, I don't know if you can see my finger. I'll just cross over here and I'll show you now. You'll get a better view of it now for sure. Right, so roughly there you can see the that building there, just there, that one just there. You can see that in the one or two shots when the buses are entering and exiting the bus depot. So that gives us a great idea of where the front of the depot was. So the front of the depot would have been around about where you've got the front awning of Tesco's, where you've got the hello sign, and it's got a weather vane on the top that marks sort of a nod to studios once there, if you see what I mean. There's a man with a camera. So roughly level with where the hello sign was would have been the front of the old depot, sound stage 5. Sadly no longer, obviously. Now you do get a clue to, if you watch the start of Holiday on the buses as well, when you see the women's blouse bust open and you see buses coming from this direction towards the front of the depot. You know it's here because you can see those distinctive trees in the background. The trees are still there. They run the boundary of what was the studios then, but which is now the edge of the Tesco's car park. They're still there to this day. So that tells us where that direction of where the camera was looking when that was filmed. So I'm just going to head over here for another location. This location is seen in Holiday on the buses. Got to be careful here. I'd never like coming through here because you never know when the cars are parking up. Okay, so if you're watching Holiday on the buses, and it's easy how they do that in these films, they lead you to believe that something's filmed someplace totally different. The scene where Blakey's sitting on the deck chair and he gets towed away, Forget about it being filmed at the holiday camp. It was not filmed at the holiday camp. How do we know that? If you watch that scene again, the clues are there. I mean, I've walked all around when I was looking for that location, I looked all around the holiday camp, and there was nowhere that matched the buildings that were on the other side of a line of trees. So roughly Blakey would have been around about here. Now these trees have grown up a lot over the years, but right through the other end of those trees are those little pointed roofed bungalows at the opposite turnaround Betty's on White House Avenue, and that is exactly the same design of houses that you've got in the Holiday on the Buses film when Blakey gets towed away in this direction here. So it would have been roughly in this direction here where the donkey tows away Blakey. So you can't really see through there. The trees have obviously got maybe, well, 50 years growth now from 1973, but back in the day you would have been able to see those. I can still see them now. It'd probably be easier to see them during the winter time when there's no foliage on the trees. I could still point out those. I'll just go over and see if I can get in amongst those bushes there just to show you what I mean. And if you watch that scene again, you'll see what I mean. If you watch the houses in the background, and you'll see the ones with the pointed roofs in the background. You can just see them through there. So you see a normal sided, when the camera looks at them side on, you can see that house there with a taller and more traditional two-storey house. But then next to it you've got the pointed roofed ones, which are those ones right there. So they're right there through the trees there. So that's how we know that that was filmed in this location right here, not at the holiday camp. Sorry about all this zooming in and all that. I've got to pinch to zoom and zoom out and such like. Same with as well, if you watch, I can't take you in there now because it was inside the actual studio. The scene when Olive's going to the toilet at night in the holiday camp, that was actually filmed in our admin block in the Elstree studios that still remains there. I did manage to get in there and get a photograph or two of it about 3-4 years ago. So that's how we know it was filmed in there and not at the holiday camp. Okay, so just head on out of what was the studio complex. So you get an idea. If I just zoom around now, this would have all been studio land back in the day. All of this here, right down to the front of Shenley Road that entered the car park at. All of that was old studio land. Now what happened to it to get knocked down? Well, around about the early 1980s, the studios were sold to Brent Walker. Now the Brent Walker Group is renowned for being a property development company. So obviously they had no real aspirations to carry on making films here. So they had already began plotting to sell off the land. They had sold off this plot here to Tesco's. And now when locals got wind of it, especially Mr. Paul Welsh, who writes for the Borehamwood Times, he does a film piece every week. It's really worth a read. He's a real mine of information. Back in the day, in the 1980s, when Brent Walker were plotting to sell off all of the studios, it was too late. They set up a Save Our Studios campaign, which was too late to save this part of the studios. Sadly, that was lost by that time the deal was done. But they managed to put a block on so that the rest of the studios was saved, and that ended up getting sold to Hertsmere Council, who own it now. So it's safeguarded now because it's owned by the council. So I think Paul Welsh, who attended a lot of on the buses events, there's a mine of information on the film and business and all of that, and he was awarded an MBE, I think it was, for his services to getting the studios saved. Right, so we'll head out of here. He used to be an entertainment manager at the old studios as well. Paul Welsh used to put on film nights with all old stars of the films then, like Pamela Condell, Liz Fraser attended them. They used to have the Elstree band playing in the studios, BBC Elstree band. They played music from the films and TV series that was made here and such like. Really great nights they were, but Paul's retired from that sort of thing now. So I'm going to go and cross over the road here. Now, I'll just tap onto another thing now. If you remember back to that scene that I was telling you about earlier, when Olive gets sent to the family planning clinic, they point her in the direction. Now, as I say, I'll just give you the idea of where it was. Roughly where that brick wall is. It's where it was. Just, I'll try and zoom in. The brick wall that you can see there, that's where the family planning clinic sign would have been. Now if you look across the road here, just sort of near enough opposite where that brick wall is, you see the sign that you actually see in the film, which is Shenley, the North London, the road sign there. You see that actually, but it was slightly different. It's been modified obviously for different directions and such like, but that was actually still there then. Beyond that sign, you've got tower blocks there. Back in the day, it used to be Studio 70 or something like that. Used to be a film cinema with perspex or like a fake fiberglass awning, but it used to show all kinds of films there up until about, I think it was the late 70s it closed down. It might have been 78 when they closed it down. They built a tower block about the same height as that one, and then that got knocked down about 3 or 4 years ago, and they built another one there now where the cinema used to be. Right, so to give you a better perspective here, I need to cross the road for this next location. Now if you think back to the film and remember the scene when they were when you remember the scene when Stan and Arthur go out into the backyard to inspect the motorbike when they're planning on how they're going to get Olive to the hospital. Now, you remember Stan recommends the sidecar, and Arthur goes, no it can't, it's busted. And he says, well let's go and see what we can do anyway. Now, back in the day, just beyond where those trees are across the road there, like you've got the Union Jacks on the flagpoles and then the smaller trees there. Back in the day, there used to be the studio manager's house there, and it was the backyard of that studio manager's house that they actually filmed it in. How do you know that? Well, I'll tell you in a minute once this bus goes out the way. So if you look at beyond the Union Jack, and you've got a brick building there with white awning above the windows, that is the studio's power station there, like where they get the power supply from. I'll just pause just now. Okay, so where those white awnings are above the windows, you see them in the background when Arthur's and Stan are talking, looking at the motorbike. The other clue that it was actually there is, don't know how well you can see across beyond that, there's a taller building with little segregated marks in the roof, which is, you can just see it. You can see it right up the up there, just in the centre of the picture now, there's a brick building, and it's got little grooves, tiny little grooves in the top. You see them in the background in the film as well. I can't really zoom in any better than that at the moment on that one, but that is where they filmed that scene on the studio land there. Now, see if we can get a better sort of like image further up of that sort of like, yes, this is better, this is better. So if you see the building there just beyond the Union Jack, with the building with the brown brickwork, not the cream coloured building, the one beyond that, and you can see the grooves in the top there, and the just up above the Elstree Studio sign. So you can see the grooves in the wall there, and you see them in the background of when they're in the back yard having a look at the motorbike. If you watch the film again later on, you'll see what I mean, and that's the giveaway to that being the location there. The white building that's just down there, there used to be a comedy wall of fame there where they had plaques up for the comedy films made at Elstree around the early 70s. There was ones there for On the Buses, for Are You Being Served, for Man About the House, and for Georgia Mildred. I don't know if it was Nearest and Dearest as well, but that was on the wall there. They've removed those plaques now. I think they've been stored away for safekeeping, but they used to be on that white, it used to be called the Comedy Wall of Fame, and that white bricked building there, which is now like a staff canteen for studio staff to go in and buy coffees and such like. Okay, so I hope you're all enjoying this. Sorry if I'm not answering any of your questions, but I will get back to you as soon as I'm through filming. I'll be able to answer any questions that you've got. It's hard to see as well because there's a bit of glare on the screen. So that's Elstree Studio still through the trees there, through the bushes as well, over the hedge. Can't really go close and go in there and ask to go in and film there because they're very offish, the staff. They will not let you in there. I have asked before. You get a better look of the cream coloured building there, the Universal one with the Universal sign on, the power station. You can see the white awnings above the windows there, and then across there you've got that building with the grooves in the top there, just above the Elstree Studios sign. But I have been and asked if I could shoot and get a shot in there, but unfortunately they've said no, that's no go. They won't let you onto the site to take any photographs. Right, so we're coming up to Brook Road now. I'm not going to go all the way down here, but if you look down to the very bottom, you'll see the floodlights of Borehamwood's football ground there. Now, to the left of it as we look, you can see the houses down at the bottom, very bottom of the road there. Those are the houses that the buses are parked up in front of in Mutiny on the Buses, and at the end of Mutiny on the Buses. It zooms in and stands snogging upstairs. So, I'm just going to see if we can get across here. That was filmed down there anyway, that scene where the buses parked up. Now, where they filmed that from, they filmed that with the cameras perched on the top of Neptune House, which is part of the BBC studios, which was used as the Holby City's hospital. I'm not going to go around there to show you, it's a bit of a long way to go down there just for something like that, but take it from me, that's where the cameras were perched, and they looked across and down on the two buses parked and at the start of and at the end of Mutiny on the Buses. It's a little bit better now anyway, heat wise, because there's a little bit of a cooling breeze. which is good. I'm sorry if the zoom-ins are a bit sort of like zooming in is a bit much and zooming out again, but obviously I'm having to hold the camera with one hand and zoom with the other hand, which is quite difficult thing to do. Police gave me a nasty look there. I don't think you'd like the idea of me filming. It's a good job that he never saw where I was this morning. Okay, so, and if you're wondering what I mean by that, I wasn't actually able to do any videos, but I actually got right down to the motorway side and done and got photographs, then and now photographs for when the bus gets diverted onto the M1 at junction 4. We'll be sharing them on my Facebook channel, Facebook group, when I go through, start running through the filming locations again in August. I'll start doing them running from around about autumn time. Obviously there's a lot more now because I've found a lot more of the holiday on the buses locations, and total in my database I think my total is up to somewhere between 450 and 500 filming locations. So as I've said before, I'm not being big-headed or anything like that, but I own the biggest database of filming locations in the world. You might say, well, what about the film companies? Yeah, they only know the filming locations, they don't know the TV ones, and vice versa. So maybe only about 20 from the TV series that I don't actually know about, and far less than that from the films as well. So if you're not on my Facebook group and you're on Facebook, the channel that I go through all the episodes with all the filming locations with then and now shots, that's called On the Buses Filming Locations Then and Now. So just Google that, and when you go onto Facebook, search that, ask to become a member, and I'll grant you that. Now across the road there you've got Maxwell Road. I do believe down there somewhere they filmed an episode from the Saint, I think it was. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but they filmed so much around here it's very plausible. Now, another thing I never mentioned back there, you see the roundabout that's further back down there? I'm not going to walk all the way back down there again, but if you look right down there where the roundabout is, that roundabout you actually see in the Likely Lads film when he's driving his van with the cleaning products in it. We know it's that roundabout because over to the out of shot you can see the front of the studios as it's going around the roundabout. So they did film some scenes of the Likely Lads here in Borehamwood as well, because it was a Elstree production. Although a lot of it was filmed on location up in the northeast, but another location from the Likely Lads that was filmed here. You may remember the scene when Thelma works in a library. That was a library there. It's not a library anymore. It's now being converted into some other, I think they're using it as a nursery, I think, or something like that. So across there used to be the library where Bob drops a book on Thelma's foot or something like that. That was at that library right across, right there. So heading on and walking along and towards the direction of the hotel that I'm staying in, which is convenient, but heading along eastwards of east of the Borehamwood town centre now. As you can see, there's a lot of building work gone up there, which isn't good for when you're hunting locations down. Ibis Hotel. We used to stay in there when I was organising the events. Sort of gone off of that now. We prefer the Premier Inn, which is further out. It's just an all-round better experience staying in the Premier Inn Hotel. I did used to stay in the Innkeepers, which is up Studio Way there as well, when I first started coming to these and organising these events and things. But that then changed hands to a travel lodge, and it went quickly downhill. So I prefer the Premier Inn that I've been staying at the last couple of times that I've been down here. That's the old police station across the road there that's closed down. I think the police are actually based on the civic offices back behind there. Just walked past about maybe 100 yards back. Okay, now I'm going to cross over here. That wasn't tooting at me. I don't know who it was tooting at, but it wasn't me. Not guilty. Now with the venue, which was as a swimming pool in there used to be a college there called the Oaklands College. It was a very distinctive building. It was sort of like built side on, so you could see the side of the building. That was very handy. But mind you, that got demolished maybe about would have to be about nearly 15 years ago now, maybe 12 to 15 years ago, and the venue was built there, a swimming pool. But the college was very handy because it was a giveaway to finding this next street here as a filming location. Because when I started coming here around about 2007, as I say, the Oaklands College was still there. I'll tell a lie, it probably was over where these new flats are, not where the venue is, but more here, because it was right at the foot of where we're going to next is Borehamwood. So I'll walk further up here and then I'll turn around and give you a view back so you can picture the Oaklands College having been a building that sat right at the foot of this road. Because you used to see it when the motorbike was getting towed up and down here. You could see in the distance the Oaklands College, which was a giveaway to that being this location. It was a big help to it, but sadly that's gone now. So thankfully I found it. My searching was done sort of basically before a big key landmark was demolished. So if you see what I mean there, where the cars are coming round the corner, you used to be able to see there was an Oaklands College sitting there, which was still there when I first started coming here 2007, 2008. Okay, so I'm not going to venture too far. There's a lot of locations further up Borehamwood Road. Too many to go into any great detail. But I'll take you to a couple of the really big iconic ones that you get on the street here. Because they filmed on the, this is probably the most extensive that you filmed on. Now, there is a location for this as well. If you think, if you go and look on my page, you can find one with the where the sidecar runs away and it actually crashes into this telegraph pole. We know it's here because of the ornate brick work here. And no, I'll tell a lie. Right, so this one here is the one that you see it crashed into, okay? So it crashes into that initially, that's where you see it running and crashing into. But for some reason, they decided, I think it was probably because the scene that you see Stan and Jack, they'd start running down the hill to check on Olive. They probably thought it was too far to have them run from around about this telegraph pole all the way down to that telegraph pole to check on Arthur. So they initially, when you see the sidecar impacting it is with that telegraph pole there, but know that because you've got the junction box there. It may have been that they couldn't hang around there too long because of that had to be kept ready for access at any time, that sort of like green junction box that's down there. That could have been a reason as well. if you look down there. So we'll head back up here in the direction of where you actually see the they then obviously have cut and they bring the motorbike impacted in up here to this telegraph pole. How do we know it's this telegraph pole? Well, this wall that's been done, it's been rebuilt. It's the same sort of design as was there before, with the bricks sitting upwards like that. It's near enough exactly as it was back in then, but it's been redesigned. But the other giveaway to it actually being here, if I look from here over, the gates are the same on the garden there, and that's sort of like extra extension bit underneath the thingy was you can see in the film as well. And further down beyond it, the house, next house down's got an arched doorway which was there as well, so that's how we know for certain it was here. Now I'll show you the manhole cover in a tick, but obviously another scene from Mutiny on the buses, when you see the bus coming down here, there's smokes pouring out of the engine and Stan's trying to get the dartboard off of the engine, as the bus would have been travelling just about here. We know that because we see that little bungalow with a distinctive jutting out part with a low level roof, and the other bungalows all the way along here in the background. So I'll just see if we can get out and show you the actual manhole cover. That is it right there. Got to watch myself here, but that's the manhole cover there that you see Olive stuck down. Right there. I can't really take you from the side on and get you a side on view because there's a car parked right in front of it, but it's just on the other side of that black car there. So I'm going to head back onto the main road again. As I say, there's a heck of a lot more locations filmed up Bullhead Road, but you'll take you to a couple of new, other locations that are a little bit more standout-ish, if you see what I mean. And I'll also take you along and I'll give you a look at the new Sky Studios that are getting built here. They're absolutely massive. So I think they merit more of a look at than the Bullhead Road ones, which is a bit uphill as well, so it'll be very taxing on me. And this one, these locations here, it's taken me in the direction of my hotel, so it's more convenient for me as well. If it hadn't have been so hot, I would have taken you right up Bullhead Road and round to the Manaway laundrettes as well. But if you have a look, I have covered them on videos on the channel already anyway, so you can go and look at them at your leisure. Sorry about that, my finger in the way of this shot again. Well, I do walking tours, as you can see on my badge there. That's my walking tour badge there. I do walking tours. I mean, Neil, who's posting up there at Abercrombie Wembley, he came to one of my walking tours. Shame only 2 other people turned up for it, but there you go. I mean, I did have it well advertised and all of that. That was for a walk around Borehamwood. Maybe about, when was it? It was maybe about a couple of, was it last, maybe February, March? Neil will probably be able to fill you in on the exact date of it. I've done walking tour in Wembley, Wood Green. Wood Green was quite well attended. But we'll be doing another walking tour sometime later on in the year, and I will post it up on the YouTube channel when it is and such, like how to get a ticket for it and whatnot. And obviously as well, if anybody wants to become a patron and make a donation, they help pay for my trips down here. Obviously things like hotel rooms, the fares to travel on the trains, obviously food costs and all of that, that's all comes out of my pocket, if you see what I mean. So you can do that by clicking on the patron symbol at the bottom corner as well. Right, so the next junction here, now if you look across the road there, I'll just zoom in again here. There's Todd Close. Now obviously that's one of the many streets in this portion of Borehamwood that's named after actors and actresses, because all of this slot here, right here, all of this here used to be the old MGM studios. So it would stretch all the way along and up, and I'll walk you up in the direction to show you how vast it was. That's one of the streets here, Todd Close. So everything that's been built where the MGM studios used to be, the British MGM studios, they've named the streets after actors, actresses, producers. I know there's a Rutherford Close up there. There's also Corder Close after the famous director Peter Corder. Actually, I would say that the studios probably began from Studio Way, across the way where the cars are turning around the corner there. From then on up, that's where the studios actually stood, the British MGM studios. What happened to them? Well, 1970 they closed, December 1970 they closed for business. That's because at the time, the Tory government at the time, they wanted to put a super tax onto film companies from out with the UK for making films here. Obviously MGM was an American company. That scared the hell out of them. They didn't want to be paying extortionate amount of money to make films here, so they pulled the plug on the studios. So they closed down in December 1970. They closed for business. They stayed closed, dormant obviously, around and up until 1973, if you remember the end of, if you wait, I'll cross here and I'll tell you about it more. But Manor Way here, I'll come back to that story in a minute. Just about to cross Manor Way, you'll notice Manor Way, maybe the name from old locations, things that I've done. The laundrette is actually up in that direction, maybe about a mile and a bit up there at that street. So right up there, it's uphill again, so again, it's not something I really fancy doing in this heat, obviously. So, continuing looking across the road there, you've got a new academy that was built. That's for people that want to work in the film industry. They'll teach you all sorts there over in the Elstree Screen Arts. It's like a college. But all of that there used to be part of the old British MGM studios. I might have to cross back over again to show you the only part of the studios that actually remain. I think I'll try crossing over here. I'm going to have to cross over there anyway if I want to show you what the new Sky Studios is like. It's a bit ironic really, because they had studios here on this site all the way along here, and then they closed it down, and now they're building more studios just to the east of it, maybe 100 yards away from where the old studio site used to be. I'm just looking for a time to cross here when I can. These buildings here give you a clue to, again, these ones here that have got Elstree Way, Evelyn House written on the sides of them. These buildings here, they were there when the MGM studios were there. There we go. This here now, what they're going to build here, This is like second or third generation of stuff that they're building here after the studios were demolished. There's going to be a little superstore here. So yeah, these buildings across the road from us, we can work out by looking at these on our Google Earth, like an overhead view. These buildings remained, so we can pinpoint by using these buildings as a reference exactly where the soundstage was, where Reg is knocking it down, and Holiday on the Buses, because that's what it was. You remember back to Holiday on the Buses at the end, and you see Stan knocking down the soundstage. It's a bit of a, depends who you want to believe. I'm in the corner that thinks that that is meant to be the bus depot he's knocking down, because you hear Blakey's ghostly laugh, and it's a soundstage like the bus depot that they used down at Elstree Studios was a soundstage as well. So that makes me think that it's supposed to be the depot he's knocking down, and that was like a complete close to the story then. But where that soundstage was, you can see the building. This isn't the Lidl, this is like a food distribution site. It's an extension of what was there before. So I'll just head along down and show you the part where the where it stands knocking down the sound stage, because you hear a ghostly laugh and you hear Blakey. Oh. That leads me to believe, although people disagree with my opinion on it, that it was meant to be, you're led to believe it was the bus depot he was knocking down, because it was a sound stage, just like the depot in the films was a sound stage as well. So that was like, when they filmed that scene, that would have been summer in 1973, so those buildings had remained derelict since December 1970. And that was them starting to demolish the old MGM studios. Now, oh, I've missed it. My waffling. This here, this little wall that you've got here, it's all that remains of MGM studios. Actually, I tell a lie. I think there's a little small substation as well that there exists. But this wall along here was the old front, and that road was there as well, I think, for the studios. That was like an access road into the front of the studios. But this little wall here was actually there from the old studios. So that's the only thing that exists today from the old MGM days. I mean, you can see how vast it is, or how vast the site it was, and the stuff that they made there was unbelievable, such as Cleopatra, I think it was Kelly's Heroes was made there, Ivanhoe television series was made there, all sorts. So you can still see the wall along there, it's still there. Now, roughly about where the Panettone to let sign is, that is roughly about where the soundstage was. So if you see the Panettone to let sign, that is where the soundstage was that stands knocking down in Holiday on the Buses. The camera, of course, would have been slightly around the corner here filming, because you see it from sort of like an angle. So like we're coming up to York Crescent here. And I'll just take a walk up York Crescent to show you exactly whereabouts it was. They would have near enough filmed it from. There's my hotel across the road there. That's the hotel that I'm staying in the Premier Inn there. probably remained there because there was no real cause to have to knock it down. I don't think there was any preservation order put on the wall. It was just everything that's been built there that needed a slip road going into it. So that wall was probably, there was no real need to get rid of it, if you see what I mean. They had nothing that they were planning to build on there, if you see what I mean. So that's why it managed to survive all that time. Now I think that, I'm not too sure, there's somebody who's a real aficionado on the MGM site. We'll just head on down here. So it's just beyond this jutting out bit, there's the Panettone sign that I pointed to you earlier. So it would be sort of like the camera probably would have been filmed it a little bit further up here. But like I said earlier, now his name's Mike Grant. He'd probably be able to confirm this or not, because he's more of a MGM Studios buff than what I actually am. But I think that's the power station that actually remains that you can see in front of us up here. If you see that brick building that's up over the fence in here, that's the old, that is an actual bona fide, I think that is actually there from the studios days. It's like a power station, and that still exists to this day. I know they had fences around it. I think somebody actually rescued the fence because it was getting taken down. But it's probably from around about here where the cameras would have filmed that scene a little bit closer in over this fence. I can't get in that close to when you see Stan knocking down the soundstage at MGM, which, as I say, I still adamant that it's meant to be the bus depot, but some people deny that and say they don't think that's the case, but I'll let you decide on that. It was originally going to be a different ending to Holiday on the Buses as well, but when the writers heard that the studios were getting knocked down, it was a very good opportunity to give it a little bit of a better ending. They were originally going to be, Stan and Jack were going to be working as road repairmen. Stan was driving on like a tarmac laying steamroller type thing, and Jack was operating the sign like stop go sign and all of that. That was originally going to be the ending to Holiday on the Buses, but they actually changed it to Stan knocking down the sound. So there's the Panettone sign just there. So that's where the sound stage roughly would have been, around about there. And there's that power station that I do believe is one that's been there since the studio days. And another thing that gives away the exact location of where that soundstage was, if you're going to have a look at some old overhead shots of the studios as they were then, up here there's a road that goes up into the countryside. I walked up that way yesterday on that fateful day I got heat stroke. That's the road I walked up, and there's a little house that has remained there all that time. And if you look at the overhead shots of the old MGM studios, that soundstage that Stan's knocking down is near enough in a direct line with the house that's up there on the back of the on the back road there. So that's how you can pinpoint exactly. And with the other buildings that I pointed out to you earlier that were still there as well. So when you've got points of reference like that, it's a big help to be able to use them to garner where everything exactly was. So this here is the Sky Studios. So I'll walk right up as far as I can here to the edge of the studios and walk right down the other side, although you've got workmen over there. They might be a little bit funny about me filming, but I don't see why. I'm not doing any harm here. But I think they're actually building more on the other side of this, up here on the other side. I don't think they've quite finished it yet as well. But the size of this is absolutely massive. So it's going to be Sky are going to move in here, and they're also linked with NBC Universal. I think Sky have actually partly been bought over by them. Comcast as well, I think, have bought them, haven't they? But I don't know whether they are. So that's the end of what remains of the studios, of the new studio block there. So I'll walk right down with you So you can see right down there beyond, there's more sound stages down there. And you get an idea of the absolute size. And it's crazy because the MGM studios used to be over there and they demolished them, and now all these years later they're building a new set of studios just like there. But when they open, that'll mean that Borehamwood goes back up to having 3 studio sites: the BBC Elstree, the Sky Studios, and the Elstree Film Studios. So Borehamwood is known as like it's phase. They call it as it's like Britain's Hollywood, because of the amount of studios that are here and have been here. So there you can see it's stretching all the way down here, the studio site. And there you can see over there on the side of the porter cabins, you can see what it's going to be called there. NBC, Sky Studios Elstree, and it's got NBC Universal as partners like. So I'm just going to carry on walking because there's more, would you believe, of the studios even down here. They stretch all the way down here. So these are bigger than the Elstree studios, or what remains of the Elstree studios. Probably would have been bigger even if the Elstree studios had have remained as was, the full size with a Tesco extra car park. I would say this is even as certainly bigger than that as well. As you can see there, the amount of the size of it, because it carries on down here. I'm just going to carry on walking so you get a full idea of the scale of it. Sorry about my fingers getting in the way again of the camera lens. So there down there, the bottom there is my hotel. So yeah, this is Rowley Lane, that's what this road's called. So still the studios there, and as I say, all this front here, there's more sound stages actually behind these buildings here. Mind you don't get knocked over. So here you can see it still runs down here, the studio site, even round the corner. And then further on along, I think this is the end, I think this is actually car parking for the studio site down ahead, and I think that's the end of the studio site. And then further on this road, as it leads along down here where all the cars are heading, that leads out onto, like this is still Rowley Lane, and it leads out onto a flyover of the motorway. And on the other side of that flyover is where they filmed the scene where they put up the false diversion sign for the woman driver to end up on the motorway. Again, trick photography, because that is we're in now East Borehamwood, whereas when the bus actually turns onto the motorway, that's where I went down onto this morning to photograph. That is actually over at the Elstree side, so probably about maybe 5 miles away from where you see the diversion sign. Such as the way that they do with these filming things to confuse you. So yeah, there's even more sound. I think that's another sound stage. It's behind this massive car parking area. I think that looks like maybe where they're going to keep the production vans and things like that in there. Well, it looks at those double bay doors over there. So you can get an idea of how massive that site actually is. Right. Hold on just now. Right, I hope you've enjoyed this video. That's about it. I'm going to go back to the hotel, chill out, get myself a bite to eat, and then I've got my long trek up north to back up to Edinburgh tomorrow. I will be putting up all the videos. I've maybe done about 10 location visit videos that will be putting up onto the group, onto the channel in the next week or two, spread out over maybe a couple of weeks or something like that. So I hope you've enjoyed this live video, and I'm going to say goodbye for now, okay? I will answer all your questions in time as well. I will go on to answer these questions for you, the people that you've been posting up stuff, so I will get down to answering them, okay? So goodbye for now, and I hope you enjoyed the video.